season, and you guys can ask, save some of your questions. We'll have a. What I want to do is I want to have a discussion with everyone once I'm done this, because we had some very special news today. If you guys know, da 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 da. And we have been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Of course, if you are not an investor, you would probably think, Alfonso, you're crazy. This sounds like bad news. Very similar to back in April of 2020. I got on a call with everyone here, including, and this is why I'm putting this up on my YouTube channel as well. So it's going live on the YouTube channel as well, because I got on a call like this back in April 2020, and I said, guys, it's hunting season. And if you remember, if we go back to March of 2020, everyone was kind of confused. There was a lot of confusion in the marketplace. People didn't know what was going on. A lot of people were scared. As investors, we were scared. We didn't know what we were going to do. April 1st for a lot of investors, especially in the multifamily space, it was like Judgment Day. And April 1st came, and because of all the work that we did throughout, between March 15th all the way to March 30th, it was like we were calling people, making sure everyone was okay. April 1st came, and we were 98% collected. And I remember this feeling of relief that came over me. And then April 2nd, I was taking a shower, because that's where I do my best thinking. And I remember waking up and I was thinking like, whoa, this is crazy. Everyone is scared. And if you remember the feeling back in April of 2020, there was a lot of confusion. People were scared, and everyone was kind of heading for shelter, and just buckling down and hunkering down and just saying, we're gonna wait it out. And at that point in time, I said, this is the time that I've been waiting for as an investor. And between April 2nd all the way to August 1st is when we took the most action in the history of our company. And we were out there, we were doing discovery calls, walkthroughs. I mean, people were just killing us online. My YouTube channel, people were on my YouTube channel and they were like, how could you be out there, buying real estate? We're going through a pandemic. I said, I don't know, guys, it's what I do, right? And all of that real estate, millions and millions of dollars of that real estate that I bought between April to August, all doubled in price. In fact, I was able to sell a lot of that real estate on the market right at the very height. So now I am cash positive, and now we can go into a different position. We can now go hunting, because and by the way, we were waiting for this moment for the past year. We were like, okay, because if you look at where we were at back in even back in 2007, where interest rates were kind of, they were low, but they were on their way up, right? And then here, on the way up, we knew in 2019, okay, we knew that there was going to be a correction, okay? And understanding the market and understanding market cycles and understanding how everything operates in real estate, you just have to look at the data, guys, because we were expecting for interest rates to keep climbing. This is what we were expecting. And what happened was 2020, we got hit with COVID. And so this created this created an alternate universe, is what it is what happened. This is an alternate universe where instead of the interest rates continuing to increase, creating a situation where we're pushed into a recession, because that's exactly what the government wants right now. They want to push us into a recession. We ended up, they're like, oh no, now we have to print money over here, and we're going to reduce the interest rates. So interest rates came falling down over here to record lows, and they kept it that way for 2 years, okay? Now, the objective, okay, was to create a stimulus, and they achieved exactly what they were looking for, right? This year, the money was flowing, baby. The money was flowing. Cheap money. People were refining their house like there was no tomorrow. And so back in 2022, they're like, okay, we're going to do another hike. It was 50 basis points, 0.50. Then 0.50. And what happened was people were still making dumb decisions, right? People were still buying it, and inflation is still running rampant. And so now they're here. They're like, okay, guys, the jig is up, okay? And if you see what's been going on in the marketplace, where, you know, the cost of living has doubled, but no one can find someone to work, that should tell you. That doesn't make any sense. How is the cost of living doubling and no one can find someone to work, right? People, you can't hire people because no one wants to work. Well, the reason is that for the past 2 years, people have been living their best life. You know how I know? It's on, they hashtag it. If you go hashtag living my best life 2021, you're going to see all of the people sitting beside the pool. They're sitting beside their RVs. They bought a cottage. We're going to take some money back, and we're going to go on vacation. We're going to take the summer off. And so nobody was working, and they're using their houses as an ATM. And this is what's creating a big part of inflation, because money was printed and it was injected into the marketplace, which is creating inflation. And so inflation rate, okay, now this is where some of these stats, I will have to say I disagree, okay, because they're saying it's like not 8 or 9% inflation rate, and I'm going to call BS. I'm going to call BS on that. I'm going to say it's more like 16%, okay? But you know what? I'm just a guy, right? This is all just my opinion. You don't have to follow my opinion. I'm just a guy over here, just sharing my thoughts, okay? But if you see the inflation actually as a result of COVID, it was like the lowest ever in history. And then they started, and then it's in alignment with the printing of money. And so here, let's say April 2020, this is where your friend, the Godfather, okay? This is where I started taking massive action, okay? And this is what you're gonna see. If you're gonna, in 2 months from now, you're gonna see a chart, okay, of home sales across North America, and you're gonna see this. You're gonna see a big drop in the next 2 months, okay? Now, I don't anticipate that there's gonna be a housing crash. There's not gonna be a real estate crash. I think we're headed more into a stable market. But if you see, as they're increasing the bank rates, right now it's not doing anything about inflation. And so if inflation keeps running rampant, you're going to see the bank will start to increase their rates more and more and more until they stabilize it. And if you see back from January 2010, you see kind of where we were coming out of that last recession back in 2008. and you see where inflation was. They were holding it steady between 2 and 3% as we started to kind of like balance out, and then in 14, this is when they started to print more money again, right? They started to drop the interest rates, and inflation kind of, if you see, it follows the interest rates. And so by doing this, what they were expecting is, and this is what they're expecting to happen, is for this line to kind of start, we need to create deflation. Now here's the problem. The problem is that we have a supply chain issue, okay? Supply chain issue, okay? Now, the supply chain, you won't see the supply chain here, right? Because we didn't have a supply chain issue. But you cannot put the world on pause for 2 years and not expect consequences, okay? And so what happens is there's no supply, right? There's a high demand for things, but there's no supply. And so what happens is that the costs of goods are going to go through the roof. They're looking at the interest rates, okay? But there's also supply chain. If the car dealership used to have 5,000 cars and now they only have 1,000, they still need to generate the same income, and so naturally, per car, the prices will go up. Okay, so I don't anticipate inflation to go down. I don't anticipate for that to happen. What I do anticipate to happen is that it might stabilize the inflation. Okay, and that's good news, right? That's good news. That means that they have it under control. And when you start to stabilize you're going to stabilize the inflation rate, and then that mixed in with new supply into the marketplace, right? And then the interest rates, if they do another couple hikes on the interest rates, what you're going to see is the family at home realizing, oh no, we have to go back to work, right? There's no more, we can't do this, right? And so, honey, maybe you should get a second job, a third job, and then everyone's going to go back into the workforce, okay? And so what they're hoping happens. And so, by the way, this is just speculation, but I want to remind you guys, back, and look at this. This is my YouTube channel. You go back 2 years ago, April of 2020, there's this video, Impact on the Market, where I told you exactly what was going to happen. I told you this, like, it's almost like I can't even, it's like I'm Nostradamus. I go back to that video and I'm actually predicting what's happening right now. Now, I'm not saying this to brag, but I'm just saying that I look at market trends because I was in I started my business during a recession back in the 90s. I was in the recession back in 2001. I was part of the recession in 2008. I was there when it started to slow down in 2016. I was there in 2020. So I've been through this multiple times. And so let me see here. Do I have that here? Okay. So here, and we're going to open up for questions in just a moment. But like, I wanted to kind of share with you. Let me see. Can I add one? I'm going to add a sheet here. Okay. So we understand how the market is doing. It does this. These are market cycles. Okay. And if you go back up here, 2019. We already anticipated, everyone in real estate, we knew that there was going to be, we were moving into a stable market, okay? But, for whatever reason, right, what happened, and this is like the alternate universe, in 2020, April of 2020, actually, it's going to be more like this, okay? It's going to be more like 2020 over here, 2020, and then April 2020. And if you guys remember, we jumped on here. We were on this, like we were, every time something happens in the market, I jump on here and we want to talk about it. We're going to talk about it as investors. But April 2020, they talked about, well, what's going to be the recovery? Because that was a crash. Believe it or not, we had a market crash because there was no sales. It just went like down. It went down to zero. And so they talked about the V recovery. They talked about a W recovery. They talked about an L recovery. So it's just going to dip and it's going to go back to normal. Okay, it's going to dip. It's going to go back to normal, and then it's going to dip again. It's going to go back to normal, or is it going to dip? Is it going to dip and it's going to stay stagnant for a while? Okay, so we didn't know what was going to happen, but it was a check mark. It was a check mark because it went boom. Where we went, we never thought ever this would happen. Not even me, right? I knew there was an opportunity. But I didn't know that, this was here, like I would say here, this is like August. Let's talk about August. So this little window of opportunity, only a few people saw this window. And then everything just went right through the roof. Incredible. People made millions. My students, I created so many millionaires just by doing this content, by just telling people, hey guys, over here, you gotta take action. That's what we're waiting for. This is what you've been waiting for your whole entire real estate career. Now, when we're up here, we knew that because they printed money's being printed like crazy. It's called quantitative easing. We know that the only way to stop inflation is by increasing interest rates. And so when you increase interest rates, because when you reduce interest rates, you go through this expansion, okay? And this expansion, it's easy. Everyone has money. That's what the stimulus did. When you print money and you inject it into the market, you see what happens. Historical amounts of money were printed during this time. Never before. People were getting paid to just sit at home. All of this money had to be printed and injected into the market. Now, people did what they're supposed to do. They took the money and they spent it. Mission accomplished. We got through 2020, 2021. But now here comes, let's bring the horses back into the barn, okay? Because everyone living their best life, and they forget that this money was printed and there's going to be consequences at some point, okay? And so when you increase interest rates, okay, when you go to a point over here, you increase interest rates, you stabilize the market. And you start to decline, right? So you stabilize and then you start to decline. And once you get to here, recovery, okay, let's reduce the interest rates and then let's stimulate the market. And so you have a balanced, market cycles, recessions, expansion, recession, stabilize. These are all part of market cycles. And so what can you do now? And that's what I want to kind of get to, because hunting season is back, my friends. And this is why I'm so excited. And I want to give you some things to think about and to leave you with, to get you guys going, get you guys excited about what is the next chapter in your real estate investment career, okay? And so here's the first thing that you need to realize. It will take time for sellers to adjust to where we are in the market, okay? Right now, they're still used to those big prices. They're still used to the overinflated prices. It's going to take about a month or two for sellers to start realizing, wait a minute, I'm actually out to lunch here and no one's going to buy my property at this price because, you underwrite it, you put a 6% interest rate, nothing makes sense anymore. And so it will take some time for sellers to adjust, okay? But this is what's going to happen. People that don't have to sell will pull their deals off the market, okay? So I had a variety of different deals on the market, and I sold some at the very peak. Now, as interest rates start to go back up again, I'm pulling my property off the market. I don't need to sell anymore. I'm no longer in the selling of real estate business. Okay, that was me this year, like early this year and the end of last year. I was okay. Let's cash in at the very height of the market. But I am no longer in the selling business. Now I'm going back into the marketplace and I'm going to go back to hunting season. Okay? So it's going to take time, but the people that really are not motivated to sell are actually going to pull their properties off the market. And this is exactly what I shared with you back in April of 2020. Back in April of 2020, I said, look, if you don't have to sell your property, you are pulling your property off the market. Okay? What does this mean? It means you don't have to filter through so many properties. You actually get to see, the inventory on the market right now are the people, or I would say in the next 2 months, are going to be the people that actually are wanting to sell. Right? And so you can shift, it kind of like pre-qualifies the people for you. And so inventory will increase. Not only are you going to have the people that are trying to sell on the market, so the true people, not people like me that are just trying to cash out at the very top of the market, but real true sellers, people that actually want to sell. Baby boomers, people that are retiring, people that are sick of dealing with tenants, people that are trying to get out of the landlord business, people that are divorced, people that got sick, people that are going through disaster, people that are going through death. All of these reasons, now you get to see the true people that are selling on the market. So the inventory will increase. You'll start to see properties on the market. People are gonna, people are trying to list their properties or whatever they're trying to do. You'll see that it'll stay longer. DOM, days on market, will be longer. Okay, and then we are going into a stable market. We're going to go into a stable market for the short term. Okay, here's why I believe we're going into a stable market, because I still believe that there's other asset classes that are going to take beatings. Stock market, gold, crypto. I think those markets are going to take beatings where people are still going to want to preserve their capital. Okay? Now, I think we're going into a stable market. Once we go through another cycle of stabilization, maybe some decline, maybe the government is going to play with the interest rate. So what we anticipate that's going to happen, because I think with the 100 basis points, I think the governments, by the way, I don't have a crystal ball, but the governments are going to realize we went too far, because we'll feel the effects of this in fall. Okay? And so we'll start to see a recession. Once we start to see a recession, then I actually anticipate that the governments are going to reduce the interest rate again to try to balance things out. So then it will become a stable market for a while. And ultimately, sellers will become flexible, which is my favorite word, flexibility, meaning they're willing to negotiate and work with you in many ways. And this is the best time for assumptions, mortgage assumptions, and actually that's the subject matter I'm going to bring next week, mortgage assumptions, meaning right now there's been multiple different property owners that have locked in interest rates at 1.5%, 2%. I have some mortgages that are 1.5% interest rate for the next 5 years. I locked in last year. And so if I was motivated to sell, well, I have a really good mortgage that someone could assume, right? So I can still get my price, the price that I'm looking for, and I can still tap into, as a buyer, I can tap into the seller's mortgage, and mixed in with VTBs, because the sellers are not going to have a choice. In fact, you got to find out, obviously you got to find out the motivated ones, okay? So what do we do now? You see, I'm giving you all the goods right now. I'm going to give you all the goods because I live for this stuff. Not only that, this is the kind of things that I'm going to be doing. I'm out there. Even today, I spent all day on the phone talking to agents. I'm out there. It's hunting season, baby. I'm out here, right? And so discovery calls. Now is the time for discovery calls. Before, realtors wouldn't even give you the time of day, right? You would call the realtor and they're like, do you have cash? And you're like, well, no, I don't have all the cash right now. They're like, click. Now it's reversed, right? Now they're going to call you back. They're going to answer your phone. And so that discovery call becomes so important. What I want to know is DOM, days on market. Days on market is going to give me an indicator of where they're at in terms of motivation. The debt on the property, how much, what are the mortgages on the property, and what is the interest rate that they're paying? Maybe they have a really good mortgage. And so I'd rather assume a really good mortgage with really good terms than trying to get a new mortgage at 6%. And then ultimately, why are they selling? What's their motivation? What is it, mixture with days on market, and why are they selling? Maybe there's a great opportunity there. Now, a lot of the times, if for the next month, I'm simply going to be calling, making my calls, and I'm going to be checking in. I'm going to be checking in on these realtors, on these properties. Hey, what's going on? Walkthroughs. Hey, if there's ever been a time for walkthroughs, this is the time, because that walkthrough is going to create deal flow. It's going to give you a deeper understanding of the motivation, the condition of the property, maybe some opportunities, and it's going to help you build your network. And then ultimately, it all comes down in the way you management of your deals. You need to have a really good management system. You need to have spreadsheets with all of the different deals that you're looking at. You need to highlight and categorize all the different deals from important to the ones that are weak. And you need to be in a position where you now know who you're going to follow up on. Back in April of 2020, I would call people and they would say, well, we don't know, like, we're just going to wait it out and we're going to see what happens with this piece of real estate. I would call them back 20 days later and they're like, listen, we just want to get rid of this property. And so as the time goes, the motivation changes. You just need to be in that position where you already have all the intel on that property so you can go in and take action. And so I hope this helps. These are all things that we talked about back in April of 2020. And you guys can, for fun, you can go watch that video. But I'm having a good time here. I hope you guys had a good time. I'm going to take the video off here because I was going live.